Accusation knocking.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the CrownHoops Podcast. We are on to episode number 37. My name is Jordan Daly. With me this week, we got the whole crew: Mike White, Stacey Collier, and Ben Okazawa. Say what's up, guys.
What's going on?
It's good, people.
Mike.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, congratulations. You just graduated college. Give him a little.
Hey, appreciate it. Finally, now I could just sit around the house. That's all I've been looking forward to, doing nothing. Nah, but thanks. I appreciate it.
I can promise you, sitting around the house doing nothing gets boring so quickly.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I've been doing for the past few weeks. It's not fun. But just to kind of catch everyone up, last week we talked about, The Last Dance, and not including the two recent ones because we're going to talk about that next. What are your kind of thoughts on, the whole documentary so far?
So far for me, the documentary has been great. It's been excellent. It's raw. It's uncut. I've liked seeing Jordan. I saw Jordan towards the tail end. It was kind of like when I first started watching basketball. Like, I remember the 97-98 finals. So being able to go back, see how he struggled at first, because some people have a God complex with Jordan. It's like Jordan did no wrong. He won every series, but actually getting the chance to go back, see how he actually struggled when he got to the league at first, watching him grow up. It's been fun to see, man. I'm glad they released the doc. I've enjoyed it.
Okay. And not including these two recent episodes, what's been your favorite thing about it so far? So, like, for example, for me, I kind of said his pettiness.
Favorite thing about Jordan, man? Well, I would just say his overall, just the attitude, just the drive, just what it takes to win, especially when he was getting beat down by the Pistons. I know we all saw the episode. I'm sure y'all talked about it. Just to see a team of that physicality knock him on his ass, and he's just, like, yo, I'm just going to get in the gym, come back and put in that work, which is exactly what he did. So that's been my favorite so far. And, of course, just seeing that likeness to Kobe, man, especially when they had Kobe at the beginning of that one episode. So it just really you saw what Kobe did, the hard work he put into it, and you see where he got it from. So it's just good to see that.
Yeah, it was cool to see how he kind of only respected people that deserved it in his eyes.
Right.
So that was definitely cool to see. But we'll kind of jump right into it, talk about last night's two episodes. We had episode 7 and 8, right?
Yeah.
7 and 8. Okay. Ben's caught up since we're recording this on Monday, so he got to see it this time. So kind of start with you, Ben, this time. The last two episodes, what was kind of your thought? What kind of stood out to you? What was interesting to you?
I think it was really cool because, like I was talking about the first 6 episodes and how I thought they humanized him. Like Mike was talking about, some people look at Michael Jordan as a perfect person, as a god. But the show in total, in its whole, has humanized him, made him more of a person by showing, the beatdowns he took by the Pistons, losing those series to the Pistons. But these episodes, the first one, dealt with his father's death, which I had known that his dad had died, but I didn't know, the entire context. And it was, heartbreaking to watch him go through that. And that humanized him even further. And the next episode kind of touched on who he was as a teammate and as a leader. And that, to me, almost dehumanized him in a sense, because not that it's a bad thing, but it just made him seem like a guy robotically driven to win. And that's all he cared about. He didn't care about anyone's feelings, none of that. And, it's something that works in a lot of ways. Tough love. If you push others the same way you push yourself, which is what he was saying he was doing, then they'll respect you, and that's a lot of what it was. I think it was cool to hear the story about him punching Steve Kerr in the face. I had known that it happened, but I didn't hear about the whole story before. So it was cool. I really liked these 2 episodes, and I thought there was definitely contrast between the 2.
Yeah, definitely what you're saying on that the latter part of what you said with kind of his leadership style. We're gonna get into that a little bit later, but I think that was kind of eye-opening to see like the way he led his team, which a lot of people don't agree with. But we'll get into that more later. Stacey, what about you? What were your thoughts on, the 2 episodes that we just saw?
First of all, I think these latest 2 episodes are the best episodes in the series. It really humanized completely the Michael Jordan. And the thing that I got caught up on is the ending of, was it episode 7? I think it was 7. where he kind of got choked up at the end, and he was kind of like reflecting on everything it took for him to win, and that was the whole tagline of this whole docu-series was winning has a price. And Jordan, we put him alone on top of the NBA mountain, and just to see all those past feelings and emotions and everything he been through, it just like Michael Jordan, like a man, like he a man. He not I mean, he is a legend, but he's not a myth. He's not this godlike creature that we paint him. He's a man, and he went through a lot to get where he is today. So like that moment right there stood out to me between the latest two episodes.
Okay, Mike, what about you?
I really enjoyed the last two episodes. Starting with episode, I think we said, what was it, 7 and 8? Yeah, so it's episode 7. Started talking about his dad. Of course, that tragedy happened. It was really sad. I understand him taking a break. I understand him going to baseball. To take such an emotional toll like that, losing a parent, someone who's there with you every day, and all of a sudden they'd be murdered like that. So I kind of understand him leaving. But as far as him coming back, and you just seeing how the practices are run and how he talks in practice, I mean, this is what it takes to be great. Like Stacey said, they put it as a price to success. We see all the accolades that Jordan still gets, well-deserved, but he probably lost a lot of friendships, a lot of relationships he could have kindled just because of how he played and the way he pushed people, a lot of cussing, a lot of nudging. But at the end of the day, when you're in the NBA and you're in a professional sports league, sometimes that's what it takes. You got to bring out the best in other people, even if they can't play up to your level. Tony Kukoc and Scottie Pippen, they weren't Michael Jordan, but they had to be stars on their own level. They're stars in their own role in order for them to win. So just seeing him come back, especially when they lost to the Magic, when they came back, lost to the Magic, Magic handled them, with Horace Grant, Nick Anderson, and all those guys. And then for them to go back, grind, he was already working the next day after they lost, just to come back, go 72-10, and really just stamp like, yo, I'm back. Like what he said in the press release, just simply, I'm back. It's just crazy to see that, this guy had so much pull, so much power. He was so good that, like, literally he struck fear in other people when he got onto the court, and even his own teammates, like they said. So I really enjoyed the last two episodes. Obviously, it's leading up to the finale, but man, seeing him fight, seeing that Bulls team just go through everybody and handle them with ease, seeing him BJ Armstrong talking trash after a game, and then Jordan's like, okay, I got something for that. It's just great to see how he responded. And it's something kind of we missing in today's sports a little bit, in my opinion, but it was good. I enjoyed it.
I definitely agree. I think some of that should come back. But yeah, I think overall these two episodes are really good. I mean, going into it, like I said, I was born in 1997, so I don't really remember anything from Jordan's career. So like kind of seeing it play out and seeing like the whole line of how things worked. Like I knew MJ's dad died, but I didn't know, that's kind of one of the reasons why he retired, to go play baseball in honor of his dad. It's never really anything I knew. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to see, like, when his father did pass away, when he was murdered, how the media literally took a dark turn and started like thinking that he had involvement because of his gambling debts. And like, I just felt so bad for him at that point in time. Like, that's something you don't say. Like, I don't know. To me, that was crossing a line, and I felt bad that, and like at that point, and like seeing everything he was going through with media always on him and fans always around him, like he definitely needed a break. And I think without that break, history may be a little bit different. He may have just been mentally worn out and not been able to put his best foot forward moving forward. So I definitely think that break helped him. But in my eyes, the thing that stood out the most these past two episodes, at the end of episode 7, we kind of saw Jordan just kind of like lying on the floor crying, just filled with emotions. That was definitely moving. But the thing that stood out to me the most, and it goes back to what stood out to me the most this entire series, is this dude's pettiness. And there was one game, I forget the game, but they lost, and then he made up a story. He started telling people this made-up story, saying that I forget his name, someone came up to him, put his arm around him, and said, "Good game, Mike." And he said, like, he just, like, made that into existence. He completely made it up, but it was enough to get him going, and he destroyed them there on out. Like, that's a crazy mentality. That man is literally insane. but it gets him going. It's like that pettiness. It's like what you were saying about BJ Armstrong talking trash. Like, literally, it's like, don't poke the bear. Like, he's a crazy good player, but when you get him going, it seems like he was unstoppable. And what I found funny is that people still did it. People still did it. It's like, why would you stop? And like, after the retirement, when he came back, he wore number 45. And someone said, like, oh, he's not 23 anymore.
45 ain't 23.
Yeah. I was like, why would you say something like that? Like, the second I heard that, I was like, oh, you just screwed up, dude. Like, oh, to me, it's just so interesting to see. Because, like you said, Mike, we don't really see anything like that anymore. I feel like a lot of players around the league are kind of friends with each other. You know, they have the whole banana boat crew and everything like that. There's not much butting heads anymore, I feel like. And that's something that I'd like to see come back. I wish it was more physical. I really do. I think it would be a lot more fun. Just imagine like fights going on in the league. You know, clotheslines, like 70s, 80s. We don't see that anymore.
The NBA trying to stay family friendly now. They like, nah, we can't have that.
Oh, man, bring it back.
I don't want to see clotheslines in the game. I don't want to see that.
I want to see people backing their teammates up, getting into it.
I would like the refs to ease up on some of the divas. Let them get a little bit more physical. That's all. That's it.
There's too many divas nowadays.
Bring hand checking back.
At least, like
that's how I like to defend.
Too many divas, like Harden, like flopping all over the place when no one even hits him. Like that just annoys the crap out of me.
But you gotta adjust. You gotta adjust to the game, though. They call everything like that. Now these players are like, okay, well, let me
play.
Flop. Oh well, I know I'm going to the line every time.
Right.
The way the league's turned out, though, like, who do you blame that on? Like, do you blame that on the players for like playing into it and doing all that flopping crap? Do you blame it on the refs for just being too lenient, or do you blame that on kind of the commissioner and the league itself?
Well, I wouldn't say that, because superstars have always gotten superstar calls. At the end of the day, they're going to get more calls than others. I would just say, as time has gone on, as the game has changed generationally, we've changed. The league has just evolved. Like I was saying earlier, they're trying to be more family friendly now. NBA is a nice place. They put, kids first. The first thing they want to see is Charles Oakley roughing up Scottie Pippen or something. You know what I'm saying? They're going to show Steph smiling with the fam, shooting a three. That's just what it is. It's just the environment. It's a nicer time now, more camaraderie. Like we were talking about AAU basketball, all these players play together already, so they've already built this friendship over time. So it's just evolution. It's just how it's changed over years.
What's the next evolution? What's coming next?
Shit, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know, but I don't think we'll ever get back to that 90s vibe, physicality. I just don't think it's ever going to be that again.
Blame the kids. It's the kids' fault.
Next, it's going to be anytime there's a foul, you have to apologize to them before they can
look, you got to do it. You have to do it.
It's going to be nuts, man. But continuing on about MJ and The Last Dance, one of the things that kind of saw some turmoil on social media about was his leadership style and the way he did things. And a story that came out kind of the day before the documentary even got released was that if Horace Grant had a bad game, Michael Jordan wouldn't let him eat after the game. So that's just kind of a style of his leadership. And, there was another story that, he punched Steve Kerr. There was, saying like, oh, if you don't make that layup in practice, you're cut. People did not like him, it seemed like, in a way, until, after their playing days were over and they kind of saw what he was doing. So I kind of wanted to get your opinion on that style of leadership. Do you think it's the right approach? Do you think it kind of depends on the situation? Do you think he could have changed a little bit to been kind of less of a dick? We'll start with you this time, Ben. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, as far as whether it's the right approach to being a leader or not, there's so many ways you can approach being a leader, and that's just one of the ways it goes. And, if you're a leader, you're not too concerned about how it affects people's feelings per se. How it affects their performance is more what especially people like MJ as leaders are worried about. And I mean, he got results. At the end of the day, he went 3 straight, took a break, came back, 3 more in a row. So, I mean, you can't argue with the results. Whether it, kind of burns some bridges with him or not, I think that's kind of answered in the interview with Scott Burrell, who he just, I mean, I guess you could say bullied. He bullied the shit out of Scott Burrell. And everyone said that when they were talking about Scott Burrell, but even Burrell himself said in his interview, off the court, nicest guy in the world. They showed clips of him, talking to some friends of the guys from UConn, and just like stand-up guy overall. He always takes time out to talk to kids and stuff like that after games. So I mean, can't debate that he's a nice guy off the court. And then as far as a leader, he leads by example. So I can't knock it too much. Whether it's the right approach or not, it's tough to say. But I think it was, for me, the most interesting thing was to see his contrast from when he was the leader versus when he retired to play baseball and Scottie Pippen was the leader, and how people kind of viewed them differently as captains of their team.
So let me ask you this. If MJ wasn't as good as he was, do you think he could have gotten away with that type of leadership? Say he had the play style of Rudy Gay.
Well, because I think at that point, you're not even the leader of the team. MJ was the leader of his team from the time he was, second, third year in the league, just because he was the best player on the floor at any given moment. And people kind of gravitate towards that and look up to you. So he's leading by example. And if you're not a good player, you can't really lead by example. So.
Fair. All right, Stacey, what are your thoughts on his leadership style?
First of all, how you gonna tell a grown ass man that he can't eat? You can't do that.
That's so bad.
He did though.
That's terrible. And then what made it worse? Horace Grant probably didn't even eat. Like I don't care how bad I'm playing. I'm eating after the game, especially if we lost. So you can forget all that. But besides that, I think it depends on the situation. We saw the difference of the Bulls without Jordan. Yeah, they got to the playoffs, but they didn't get much farther without him, though. And you can see that when Jordan came back, everything changed and they started winning and they were more dominant. So I think that Jordan's leadership style at that time was necessary because it recharged the Bulls. And like Ben said, he got results. They won. Now, it does come at a price. People might think negative about you. You might lose friends and all that, but you at some point you gotta be willing to take on some type of leadership role if you're that guy on the team, and you have to push everybody to be better, everybody to be the best at whatever they can do, and that's what he did. And I'll accept that. Accept the whole, being a bully to Scott Burrell. You probably could have toned it down a little bit, and then telling Horace Grant he can't eat. Those two things, I don't accept those things, but everything else I'm good with. And I don't know if it'll work in today's NBA just because everybody's making millions of dollars now and you can't really tell nobody what to do. So I don't know if it's transferable now, but back then it was necessary. And look, 72-10. Then next year they won 69. Then the year after that, they won championship, and it worked.
So let me ask you this. Do you think he kind of got lucky with who his teammates are for that leadership style to kind of work? I feel like if you put MJ on the Pistons at that point in time, it would have been a living hell for everyone involved. It would not have worked. Do you think he kind of got lucky with, who his teammates were and how they handled it?
I think he got surrounded with the right teammates. He got surrounded with Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, guys who were great, but also needed that extra boost, and then had fantastic role players. So he had the right people to do that too, and of course, it was necessary. So yeah, fortunately for him, he was surrounded with the right people, and they didn't, shy away from what he was doing.
Because I think in one of the episodes, Scotty even said he was thankful for it. He needed that push. So
yeah.
I guess it worked. Mike, what about you? What are your thoughts on his leadership style? Especially you coming from, a military background, you kind of know a lot about leadership. So I'm curious your opinion here.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with his leadership style. I mean, different people lead in different ways. All types of great leaders lead in different ways. A guy like Jordan, we saw how he was in practice. A guy like, if we use recent players, a guy like Kawhi, he leads by example. Not much of a talker. He just goes out there and get it done. A guy like Russell Westbrook leads with effort. He may not be the best shooter, but do we see anybody who plays harder than him? We don't. So I think it's different ways that leaders can lead, and his leadership style, it was just abrasive, and it's not for the weak-minded. I completely understand where you come from. I mean, obviously, I'm used to that type of leadership, being from the military, you know what I mean? But not everybody's used to it. Not everybody has that type of personality where they can respond. But I do agree with like what you said. Most of those guys said they were better afterwards because of it, because it makes you stronger. It builds you up. And he was really at the end of the day, everyone knew Jordan's ultimate goal was to win a championship. So no matter what he said to you, no matter if he punched you in your face, Steve Kerr, no matter if he's messing with you all day, was it Scott Burrell? At the end of the day, he's just trying to push you, because that ultimate goal of championship, there's nothing like it at the end of the day once you finally get there and once you finally get it. So as far as his leadership qualities, yeah, it sucked. Probably hurt a lot of feelings back in the day, but I mean, I have no problem with it. I have no issues. And to your other question, when you asked Stacey, I think it could have worked if he went to the Pistons, honestly, because once you get to that team, them are your guys. You know what I'm saying? So I think MJ would have established, hey, I'm the best out of this crew. Now, unless we're talking Isaiah Thomas is there, but I'm assuming if Jordan's on the Pistons, Isaiah Thomas can't be there. So if you look at everybody else, role players, with the exception of maybe Dumars, I think as the head honcho, they'd probably follow his lead, and maybe they'll bump heads with him. Like Steve Kerr said he did. It wasn't just like Jordan punched him. Like Steve Kerr was going back at him with it. So, I mean, I think it might have bumped some heads. But ultimately, I think if your goal is to win a championship and you got the best player in the league from pretty much the time he stepped into the league, I think everybody's going to follow suit. So I have no problem with his leadership style.
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, he was able to back it up. So I think that's a huge part. And if he wasn't able to back it up and he wasn't leading by example, which, we clearly saw he was with the work he was putting in, I think it would be a different situation. But my biggest question mark on his leadership style, aside from him not letting Horace Grant eat after a bad game, I think that's just absurd. My biggest question mark is, if he was on a different team or if he had different teammates, I don't know if it would have worked, because, there's a very thin line between, tough love, tough leadership, and then, bad morale. If he went too far any time, or he didn't have people willing to compete at the level he wanted to compete at, I think it could have turned pretty ugly. It could have been a terrible chemistry ruiner thing. It could have broken the team if he had gone a little bit too far with the wrong person. Obviously, Steve Kerr and him, it did go too far to the point where Michael Jordan punched him. But because of Steve Kerr's kind of competitive edge and, him wanting to win as well, they were able to see, like, we're coming from the same point here. We can kind of respect that and respect each other. And that's how it worked. I think if it was someone that was kind of more about, self accomplishments and just trying to be the best player on the team, and that happened, I think it would be a different story. I don't think they'd respect each other. I don't think it would have worked out, and it would have ruined the team. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. I don't know if you guys have any comments on that.
Just one unrelated thought. Can we agree that Horace Grant now looks exactly like Mike?
I was thinking that. I didn't want to say it because I'm really bad with.
What up, boy? What
you
up?
Look like I wanted to say it last night, but after one episode we were recording, I think I was watching like a TV show at the time. I was like, oh, this guy looks like an older version of Ben. And then you guys all looked it up and you were like, no, it doesn't.
Oh, I remember that.
But I really wanted to message you guys last night saying like, all right, Horace Grant looks exactly like Mike.
That's Uncle
but I didn't want to like make it bad or anything like that. But yeah, you definitely do.
That's Uncle Grant. That's all that is.
I'm gonna edit this right here. I'm gonna put a picture of Horace Grant in from that documentary so everyone can see. I done it.
Right there.
Maybe he is Horace Grant. Maybe he just kind of like created a new image so we can kind of live a new life away from the fame.
Just come talk freely. I dominated Jordan '95 with the, what I'm saying. I dominated him, knocked him out the playoffs. What can I say?
Respect. All right. Moving on from Horace Grant and the Last Dance documentary. Next up, I want to kind of talk about Something that's been going on for, in my opinion, the past couple years, but it's kind of really striking this year. Kind of the NCAA's downfall and the G League's rise. So last year we saw LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton go overseas to New Zealand. And now this year, some of the top prospects, Jalen Green, Isaiah Todd, Kai Soto, and Deshaun Nix, all opted out of the NCAA to go to the G League, unlike RJ Hampton and LaMelo Ball, who just went overseas. But it's kind of the same thing if they're going away from the NCAA and they're going to a professional league or a semi-professional league where they can get paid. So I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Ben, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, well, first of all, the biggest thing I want to say is the G League's doing a good job of attracting these, all 5-star. I think Kai Soto might be 3 or 4-star prospects because they're paying them 6 figures, 6-figure salaries. Most G League players are getting paid like $40,000-$50,000, and I think it's Deshaun Nix or Jalen Green, one of those guys making $500K in a year. And not even a year. It's like a 6-month season, 5-month season. So I think that's the first thing that's kind of standing out to me about all this is that average G League salary is like $50,000 something dollars, and 2-way contracts maybe $70,000 if you're playing in the NBA and the G League, if you're going back and forth. But these guys are making 6 figures. I think that's insane as teenagers too. These guys are 18, 19 years old and they're making $500K. It's a little bit ridiculous, but I think it's a good strategy. I mean, the NCAA for years has had this happening to them in small ways. Like you see Brandon Jennings goes overseas, Emmanuel Mudiay goes overseas a bit more recently, and now LaMelo and RJ Hampton, and now these 4 guys, and I'm sure there's more to come as well. It's what happens when you exploit your players, like the NCAA has been exploiting their players for decades now. So it all makes sense to me. It's not that surprising, and I think in years to come we're going to see a lot more of this. More than 4 guys going to join up a team, and on top of that, I'm just excited to see these guys play together. It's kind of adds up to that AAU era thing that we were talking about before. How all these guys are friends, all these guys are competing in high school. And now they're all going to play on the same G League team and then go to separate NBA teams, and everyone's going to be friends. No one's going to be fighting anymore. So it's cool to see all like the best high school players in the nation teaming up on one G League team. It's definitely interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to turn out.
If the NCAA doesn't make any changes moving forward revolving, payment of the players or allowing them to make money off their likeness, how much longer do you give them?
Well, I think they're implementing a rule on allowing players to profit off their likeness come.
Oh, that's right, for next year, I think, or the year after.
Yeah, next year after, something like that, which is a good step. And it's not them realizing that what they were doing is wrong. It's kind of the NCAA realizing that their organization's gonna go down the trash if they don't start changing things soon to make things a bit more fair. Like, I think it was a story, man, I can't place it, but a coach got lunch with one of his players, and his player couldn't afford the food. So the coach paid for lunch, and then they both got fined by the NCAA and suspended. Like, stuff like that is just ridiculous to me. So I think if they loosen up a little bit, they'll start to see more of, people going back to college, because all of these guys have said, like, at least from what I've heard, they want to play college because that's an experience like no other. So yeah, no, just stuff like that is a little bit ridiculous to me. And I think the NCAA is finally realizing that if they don't start to change things to make it more fair for their players, who they're making millions, if not billions of dollars of, then this stuff like this is going to happen more and more often, and their league is eventually going to be obsolete in the grand scheme of things. So to me, interesting to see how this G League experiment's going to turn out, but NCAA is worse off for it.
Yeah, and I would say another thing that they kind of have to compete about, which is nothing that's really their fault, is the fact that, if they go G League, they go overseas, their life is basketball. Their life is improving on their game, improving their draft stock. Whereas if they go NCAA, yeah, it's like a once in a lifetime experience to play NCAA basketball. It's probably the highest stage you can play in terms of fans at a game right before the pros. If they go NCAA, they have classes they have to attend. They have schoolwork they have to do after classes. Are they really doing it? I don't really know, but that's something that they're supposed to be doing and supposed to be going to, which is time away from that they could be doing, putting work into their game and improving as a player. So obviously that's nothing NCAA can control, but it is something that they have to compete against, which is a weird way to look at it, I guess. But Stacey, what are your thoughts on that?
The only way that this will continue to work for the G League and for like 4 or 5 star recruits is if these class of players, Jalen Green and all them, if they are able to excel in the G League in the season, like they don't experience much struggle on the court, they can up their draft profile and then get selected in the lottery area. If they go to the G League and nothing works out and they don't get much minutes and all that stuff, then I could see the tide turning back to the NCAA, and 5-star recruits going to go to college and sacrifice that 1 year to go to class and then go to the NBA, because like Ben brought up, the NCAA did pass a couple of rules to where players could get paid off their likeness, and they won't get penalized for things like getting lunch with a coach and stuff like that. So for me, it's a whole like wait and see type of thing. I want to see if these players can progress and can they excel in the G League, because it is right below the NBA. It's like it's a professional setting. Are they ready for that mentally? So it's a wait and see approach thing for me. But like Ben and y'all too, I am excited to see like what's going to happen, but it's a wait and see thing for me.
So if this continues going the way it is, more players opting out of college to go either G League or professional overseas, what do you see as the future of the G League? Like, where do you see it going? Do you think it'll be a lot more competitive than it is now? Do you think we'll see a lot more players coming straight out of the G League into the NBA? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I hope it could be competitive, because I don't want all of them to be on one team. Then somebody's not going to shine out of that situation. So I do hope it be competitive, and I'm wondering where there be any like backlash to like veteran G League players who've been there for a couple years, and they getting paid far less than these 5-star recruits who just came out of high school. So I want to see like how they feel about that. So hopefully it can be competitive and don't be just a super team full of 5-star high school kids.
Okay, Mike, what's your thoughts?
I think the G League's doing a great job. I think they'll be able to last for a while. Like you were saying earlier, Ben, I know that college is a once in a lifetime tradition. But I just think for some players, that's just not their goal. They're just ready to get to the NBA, ready to make money. They've seen other guys not go to college, be successful. Kobe Bryant, KG, Martin Stoudemire, LeBron, just to name a couple. So I think for some players, it's more of a no. I need to get to the G League. It's the closest thing to the NBA. Hone my skills against other NBA prospects for sure. Because in college, you're not always going against NBA prospects every night, which is a lot of reason that sometimes when guys come out too early, they're not ready. They're not ready to go against that type of physicality. Now, granted, G League's a step below, I understand, but at least it's still somewhat there. Like Stacey was saying, there are some veterans who still play in the G League, who you'll have to go against, NBA style bodies. So, I think it's a good idea. Now, as far as the NCAA, I was looking earlier, they are going to allow student athletes to receive compensation for third-party endorsements. So, that's a good step in the right direction. But I just think that the NCAA's image is so distorted right now with the whole, James Wiseman situation. Now they're looking at Zion. I know we're going to get into that. It's just always something with the NCAA. So I think the G League is always going to have a pipeline for guys to come that way because, I mean, not everybody's trying to go to college. Not everybody's going to be able to afford to get into Duke or get into UNC or one of these top schools. And, you know, if the NCAA is on their stuff like they usually are, watching out for, you know, money being slid here and there, then you're not – everybody doesn't always get by. You always hear about a lot of guys who are really good but have to go to like a junior community college or they go to a smaller college first. So I think it's a great idea for the G League. I think it's a great idea for the NBA. I think they'll make money off of it, especially like you guys said. If some of those guys who are setting this trend early start really excelling in the league, shooting up the ranks, then I think this is just going to be a pipeline for more players and more prospects, even international, to go that route. So I think it's a good idea for the league.
If I could invest in the G League, I would sell everything I own and put all of it into G League stocks.
G League stock right now, look.
Right now is the time. I'm saying, like, I think unless if the NCAA starts cutting checks for the players, and I think I don't think that will ever happen just because I don't think there's a fair way to do it, and that'll just lead to more problems because, you know, say you're all D1 schools, you're not going to be paying every player the same, you're not going to be playing every sport the same, you're not going to be paying, you know, the men's sports versus the women's sports the same, which is just going to cause so many more problems. So I don't think they'll ever do that. I think eventually the NCAA is going to lose to the G League or, you know, minor league organizations for other sports as well. I just don't think the NCAA stands a chance. I think, you know, the G League and the NBA have something really special where they can, you know, continue to build off of it. I think if more and more players go to the G League where they are, like Mike said, playing against, you know, let's give them the credit they deserve. Most of them are NBA ready players. If they got called up, they'd be ready to go. They have that mentality. You know, maybe they're not as skilled as other people, but they're ready to go if an NBA team needs them. Versus like you said, college players, a lot of them won't go pro. You know, that's just the fact. So I think the G League's in a good spot. I also think, you know, more players going into the G League and playing against that kind of talent is going to make it a scout's job a lot easier. I think there's going to be a lot less bust going into the draft just because, you know, they see what they're like against, you know, NBA ready bodies and stuff like that compared to guys that are never going to play in the league in college. So I think the G League has something special going on if it continues to go that route. I've always thought the G League is such an interesting thing in ways of, you know, what the NBA could do with it. And one of the craziest things me and my friends have talked about, and I don't think this will ever happen, but I think it'd be really cool, is if the G League lost like affiliations with the pro teams and they kind of followed like a soccer style thing of like relegation. And like, you know, the worst teams in the NBA dropped to the G League and the best G League team jumped up. Because that would avoid tanking. It would avoid tanking. I think that would be so interesting, but I don't think that'll ever happen. But I think there's a lot of potential in the G League, especially with all the talent that's going to go into it and continue to go into it. So I think the NCAA is kind of screwed, in my opinion. But any other thoughts on that before we move on? No, we're good? Okay. So next up, kind of continuing on that, Zion Williamson's former marketing agent came forward and said that he received illegal benefits to go to Duke. I think it was from like Nike, Adidas, a bunch of other companies that he would go play for Duke. That came out that I saw today. Today's Monday. I'm not sure if it came out before. I just noticed it today. And the reactions on social media are pretty funny. I think Bleacher Report tweeted it out, and Lou Williams retweeted it with a comment. He was like, "So what, Gina?" It's just like obviously, like that was my first. I was like, I don't think he got paid to go play there. Like, come on, it's Zion Williamson, probably one of the biggest recruits we've ever seen, at least in my lifetime. So I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on that. We'll start with you this time, Mike.
Yeah, I agree with Lou Will. So what? I mean, I don't care how you got the dude. I don't care. I just want to see him play. That's it. I mean, look, I was speaking about it last segment. Not everybody can afford everything. Not everybody's going to be able just to get to Duke and everything goes good just because they're talented. Stuff happens under the table all the time. Now, you're letting guys get paid off third party. So a guy like Zion Williamson, if you would already had this rule in effect, he would have had plenty of money. He wouldn't have to worry about no under the table stuff. So whatever name, Gina, however, whatever it was, I mean, that's cool, but real basketball fans really don't care about that. We don't care. We just want to see Zion play. We want the NBA season back. So it's not a big deal to me. Yeah.
You bring up a good point. So kind of back to what we were talking about the last segment too. So I majored in sport management in college, and one of the classes I had to take was sport ethics. And I remember we had to watch a documentary, and I don't remember who the athlete was or what school it was at. It's irrelevant. But he was basically saying that he legitimately couldn't afford to, live and go to school. He couldn't afford food. He couldn't afford, his textbooks for class because his scholarship didn't really cover any of that. So, I mean, obviously top prospects. If anyone was surprised hearing that Zion was getting money under the table, like you're living under a rock. Like I don't think anyone was surprised to hear that. Is it fair? No. But is the NCAA not allowing him to profit off his own likeness fair? No either. So, I mean, you get what you deserve. Stacey, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't care, Gina. Nobody cares, Gina. He's in the NBA now. Nothing's going to happen to him. Nobody cares. Like, we've been down this road before, and it just blew over. My thing is, why say this now? Why are we waiting until now to say something about this? Yeah, exactly. Money, and attention, and clout, or whatever happens.
Quarantine, she bored.
Yeah.
Who isn't though?
Yeah. Like, I don't care. It doesn't change anything for me. It doesn't change my feelings about Zion or none of that. I don't care.
Ben, what about you?
I don't care. Me three. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't bother me because I think he deserves the money. Like, you're getting no money to kill yourself for a year just because there's a rule that you can't go straight to the NBA from high school. And I mean, he enjoyed his college experience. He said it himself. He said he wouldn't have it any other way. But for someone who's coming from where he came from, single mom, to go to school and to have to balance work, basketball, all that kind of stuff I think he deserves the money. So whether he got paid or not, he got paid. It doesn't bother me, and it clearly doesn't bother anyone else. So she needs to relax.
Do you think he will get punished for it, and do you think he deserves to get punished for it?
I definitely don't think he deserves to get punished for it. I really doubt he'll get punished for it unless they find some sort of concrete proof. He's being sued for $100 million, which it's like in the case of James Wiseman when they were suing James Wiseman for however much. It was like, where do you think he's going to get that money from? Like, okay, Zion is in the NBA now. It's a different case. He has money, but he doesn't have $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he deserves any sort of punishment, but especially that is definitely pretty steep. And I doubt he'll get punished.
In my opinion, I think, yeah, like you said, him getting sued for that is dumb. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a little slap on the wrist just to kind of set an example and be like, yeah, you did wrong. But anyone that thinks that he's the first person to get paid under the table for college, like, I'm sorry. Have you guys seen, I think it's called More Than a Game. It's a documentary about LeBron James.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in his senior year, this poor kid from Akron all of a sudden gets a brand new Jeep. Like, it's happened before. It'll happen again.
Brand new Hummer coming down.
Oh, it was a Hummer. Okay.
I think it was a Hummer. I think
it
it was. I could be wrong.
But, like, if you think he afforded that with invisible money, like, come on. It isn't the first time. It's not going to be the last time. It happened. Is it right? No, but it's also not wrong either. I don't know how to say it, but it's over with. Move on. Let the people make money off their likeness, which they're going to from now on. But we'll move on from that. Talk about my guy Jayson Tatum, Stacey's guy too from St. Louis.
Yeah.
Your jersey come in yet?
It's in the closet right now. Tag still on it.
All right, next week you gotta rock that jersey, Stacey.
I was gonna save it for a special occasion, but I'll think about it.
Okay, I can deal with that. But Tatum went on to a podcast and did an interview. A couple things got brought up that hurt the hearts of us Boston fans. He said that he never really wanted to go to Boston until I think it was Coach K called him up and talked to him for a while. and then obviously changed his mind. And we're doing well now. I won't say we're doing great until he re-signs a contract extension. But he initially wanted to go to Phoenix to play with Devin Booker. And another thing I want to say about this interview is, I don't know if you've watched it, he's extremely funny. Like, I've never seen that side of him before. He's cracking jokes. Like, this guy's funny. He was saying that if he didn't go to the private Catholic school that he went to, Deuce would have been 5 years old by now. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, what are your thoughts on those statements, and where do you kind of see Tatum going in the future? We'll start with you this time, Stacey.
Okay, I can understand why he don't want to go to the Boston Celtics. I mean,
I don't. Please explain.
It's Boston Celtics.
What does that mean?
like I told you last week, they're not the most well-liked team in
because we win.
And but on the other side, maybe him and Devin Booker are cool, but why would you want to go to the Phoenix Suns either? Now, it's cooler as far as, something to talk about. You play for the Suns, but
you said playing for Phoenix is cooler than playing for Boston?
No, I was just saying, like, the uniform and just that aura. But
bruh.
but the organization, Phoenix, the Suns, the organization is terrible. They haven't developed anything in years. Devin Booker's still struggling to get this team to win. Even when they started out great during this past NBA season, then they went right back to being the regular old Suns again, as we known them from years. So as far as his development is concerned, I think the Suns are worse than the Boston Celtics. Like, I'm glad he went to the Celtics. He went to, even though, like I said, they're not the most popular team among casual NBA fans, they are a winning organization. They got the most championships in history, and right now they have a team that can compete for the NBA Finals. So I'm glad he went there. And then Brad Stevens is a great coach. The Phoenix Suns had 27 different coaches the last 8 years. So who knows what happened when he went to Phoenix. But I'm glad he's in Boston, though. We'll see if he stays there, but that's the place for him right now.
Fair. Did you also hear who he said, on his opinion, who the most underrated player in the league was?
Who is it?
Take one guess.
Bradley Beal.
He did say Bradley Beal.
Okay.
Couldn't even be surprised there. That's his boy.
There we go.
All right, Mike, what are your opinions on, his whole interview, and where do you kind of see Tatum going in the rest of his career?
Well, first, shout out that podcast, All Smoke. I like that podcast. Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes. First of all, shout out that podcast. Gotta say that. But as far as Jayson Tatum wanting to go to the Suns, I was reading up on the interview. It looks like he almost got persuaded by Earl Watson, who was a good coach. Went to UCLA, likable guy, so I kind of get it. He said he was going to have a light-skinned connection down there with Devin Booker and Jayson Tatum, so it could have been all right, but I'm going to be real. Even though I wouldn't want to see him go to Boston, which is where he went. No disrespect to Boston. Him going to Phoenix, I just don't know, man. I mean, Phoenix has been bad for a little while now. I mean, they haven't really been relevant since Nash, you could say. I think a year after he was gone, they were good, but they haven't really been relevant since he left. I mean, yeah, you got Devin Booker and Jayson Tatum creating the next year against them. Maybe you have something to build upon. But I think he made the better choice. Went to Boston. You've been in the playoff. You've been in some tough postseason series. He's got that experience. I think ultimately he ended up going where he needed to go to become the player he's already is early. As far as where do I see him going, I see him being an all-star for years to come. I mean, who knows? Maybe Giannis will move to the West one year. Maybe we'll be saying Jayson Tatum's the best player in the East one day. I don't know. I thought the Kobe Tatum nickname was a little premature, but I like Jayson Tatum. He's got a crazy game. He's good. He definitely flipped into an all-star this year, so I think he's got plenty of years to come.
Okay, so I have two things. One, you left an accomplishment off of his little resume there.
What's that?
If he didn't go to Boston, he wouldn't have put LeBron on a poster in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay, see, there you go.
That's a big one for me. But two, do you think he will re-sign with Boston when his rookie contract comes to an end? That's like a huge question for me and everyone in Boston. No one really knows where his mind's at. He's not like very vocal about that. He's never really like gone out and said like he loves where he plays or anything like that. He's just kind of like calm, collected, cool.
And see, that's dangerous. He ain't said,
Very.
he ain't committing. I think it really just depends on how Boston does over the next. When is he a restricted free agent next year?
2 more years.
2 more years. If it's 2 more years, yeah. Because he's yeah. So it depends on how Boston does. I mean, or is it still yet to see the completion of this season? I mean, were people saying Boston's going to win it? No, but do they have a chance? Of course they have a chance. So I mean, it just kind of depends. Now, if they start losing and he's not liking the way things are going, I can see him testing the free agent market. Because I can see a lot of teams going out there to throw him a deal, but they've got a good team right now. They were playing very good. I think you guys, what seed were you before it all ended? Like the third or second? Third or fourth. Either way, they were still top half of the East. So it really just depends on how they do. Can they get past the Bucks in the East? Can they get past the Sixers? These are teams I'm sure they probably think they can, but we still have to see it. So I think whether he stays or not will depend on the success of the Celtics.
The thing that scares me the most with him is that when Kyrie was on the team, they were very, very good friends. And the thing I am scared of the most is that he's going to pull a Kyrie and want his own team. That is what scares me the most, because I don't think he's going to have his own team in Boston. Boston's never really had like one it player. It's always been, a collective group of players that make the team good as a whole. It's never been like, obviously we've had elite players, KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, but those guys on their own, I don't think are carrying a team to a championship. It was all of them together. And that's kind of what the squad in Boston is now. I don't think any one person on that team on their own is going to win anything. Kemba won nothing. Kemba couldn't even barely make the playoffs. So that's what scares me the most with Tatum. I wish he would just come out and say like, yeah, I'm going to resign. But after the Kyrie trauma, I wouldn't trust it anyway. Ben, what are your thoughts on it?
First of all, like Mike said, that's a great podcast. Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson is like the last remnants of the old school NBA that we all love so much that we were talking about before, which is why it's called All the Smoke. They hold nothing back, so it's definitely fun to watch, fun to listen to. Always got great guests. But as far as Jayson Tatum, the reasoning, if you watch the interview, behind him not wanting to go to Boston is he wasn't sure he would get a chance to play as much, just because he was going to be coming on to a team that had just finished first in the Eastern Conference when he got drafted. So he just wanted a place where he could shine, which, to your point, Jordan, is a little bit scary as far as whether he's going to re-sign or not. But I mean, he has shone this past season. He was one of the best players in the East. Kind of blossomed into a superstar over the course of the season. The first time I noticed it was that double overtime Clippers game where you guys ended up winning, and he scored 37, 41, something like that.
That was his emergence game, 100%.
Yeah, that was his breakout, and I was watching the whole game, and I was like, man, he is taking it to the Clippers right now. It's definitely impressive, especially with such a elite wing defenders on that team. But I would not be surprised if he stayed in Boston for the rest of his career, just because of how much he looked up to Kobe. And, Kobe was in LA his whole career. Tatum being, in some people's eyes, I don't really like to buy into that, but in some people's eyes, the next Kobe, for him to stay in Boston his whole career would be kind of poetic in a way. And in a sense, because he hasn't said anything about it, I'm more expecting him to stay in Boston, just because I can't think of where else he would want to go. But he could go anywhere. Like, every team's going to want him. So, it'll be interesting to see, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he stayed in Boston at least through his next contract, if not for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's definitely the number one player on the roster. I really wouldn't put anyone else on Boston's roster over him at this point. And I think that kind of showed in their game plan. They were always looking to give him the ball. He was definitely the number one guy on the court. But to your point on you don't know where he would go, in my eyes, I feel like if there was any team that they could find Bradley Beal and Jayson Tatum could both find a way on that squad, they would take it in a heartbeat. Jayson Tatum is very pro St. Louis. He reps it all the time. It's all over his Instagram. It's all over his social media. He loves St. Louis. That's his home. Nothing will ever change that. So I think he's very, very loyal to Bradley Beal. I think if they could find a way to pair up on a team, I think they would do it in a heartbeat. So I'm kind of hoping that doesn't happen. If I'm Danny Ainge, I'm finding a way to get Bradley Beal to come to Boston before Bradley Beal and Jayson Tatum go elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, it's scary because he doesn't talk. And like Mike said, that's you got to watch out about those people because you never know what's going to happen. You know, especially as Boston fans, we had our heart broken by Kyrie, who even he said he was going to stay, didn't. But I'm not getting back into that. No, not today. But we'll move on from that. That was a good one. This is a debate I've had with a couple of my friends a couple times, and they all kind of have different thoughts on it. My thought has never changed. And the question is Andre Iguodala a Hall of Famer? Will he go to the Hall of Fame? And I'll kind of read off some of his stats if this wants to load. He's a one-time All-Star, 3-time NBA champion, 2-time All-Defensive player. He was part of the All-Rookie team in 2004, 2005, and he was the Finals MVP in the 2015 season. He's been around for a while. I think he was drafted in 2004. 2004. Yeah. Been around for 15 years. Been with the Golden State Warriors since he was 30 back in the 2013-14 season. He played for Denver for a year. He also played for Philadelphia. He's with Miami now. But his career stats, he's hitting 12 points a game, 5.1 rebounds, and 4.3 assists. He's shooting 46.6 from the field and 33.4% from deep. Obviously, those stats alone are nothing that jumps out and say, oh, this guy's a Hall of Famer. But, you know, if you look at what he did with Golden State and kind of that off-the-bench role he had, begs the question, is he a Hall of Famer? So let's go around the room. Do you guys think Andre Iguodala will be a Hall of Famer? We'll start with you this time, Mike.
I think he's going to make it. I don't think he'll be a first ballot, you know. I think it'll be a little bit. But being a 3-time champion, winning a Finals MVP with the regular season MVP on your team, being a part of one of the quote-unquote greatest, arguably the greatest team of all time, and you're able to win a Finals MVP while going up against prime LeBron. Just seeing how important of a piece he was to Golden State. He was a big cog in their death lineup. They'd bring him off the bench. He would lock down, guard somebody. I think that'll get him the Hall of Fame, especially being a part of that team. Like you said, his stats doesn't jump off at you, but 3 championships and a final MVP and a couple of defensive teams, I think he'll get on there. Yeah,
and that was my thought. I mean, the Finals MVP, It's over with. He's a Hall of Famer. Ben, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily first ballot, and like you guys said, his stats don't jump out, but he's got the 3 chips. I honestly thought he had more rings for some reason. I thought he had 4. But, he's got his 3 rings. He's got Finals MVP on his resume, all defense, great defender. Obviously he won that Finals MVP, not as much for scoring, but more so for doing his best to contain LeBron, who still had himself incredible series. But more so for me, just looking at his, as opposed to his career stats, his stats when he was in Philly, he was a beast when he was in Philly. 20 points, 6 rebound per game type averages. He had that all-star season while still being one of the better defenders in the league. 2 steals on a season at one point. So for me, I think no brainer. If you add, his stats from his peak years to his accolades, I think no doubt Andre Iguodala's Hall of Famer.
Okay, Stacey, what about you?
This is where I become the villain. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. And here's why. You said he only has 1 All-Star appearance, just one All-Star appearance, just 2 All-NBA defense. For me, that's not enough on the resume in comparison to people who's in the Hall of Fame already, or players been around the same time he has at the same position. His stats just don't compare. And outside of Philly, the 3 or 4 years he had in Philly, he had an impact player on the NBA scale, like on the league-wide scale. Now, as far as like him being a impact role player on the Golden State Warriors, yeah, he has a Finals MVP, so he is very valuable. But as far as like his resume, the complete picture, you compare it to other people in his position and all that and the accolades or lack thereof, I don't think that he's a Hall of Fame. I mean, he's only for his career only averaging 12 points per game. And for me, that's not enough to warrant any Hall of Fame votes. Now, I think he will be in like the Warriors Hall of Fame, the team Hall of Fame, but the NBA Hall of Fame, I don't think so.
Okay. In my opinion, I think he will be in the Hall of Fame just because of the role he did with the Golden State Warriors coming off the bench and kind of being that little spark and obviously winning the Finals MVP that one year over, the season's MVP. But, I will say my friend's counterpoint. Do you guys think Kevin Love is the Hall of Famer?
At some point, yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. See, I did not see Kevin Love as a Hall of Famer.
I think so. I think he'll get it.
He's a champion. He had some great seasons in Minnesota.
Yeah, statistically in Minnesota, he was a beast.
Yeah, so just a quick recap of that. He's a 5-time All-Star, led the league in rebounds in the 2010-2011 season, NBA champion with the Cavs, obviously with LeBron, 2-time All-NBA, 1-time All-Rookie, and the 2010-2011 Most Improved. And his stats are obviously way better than Andre Iguodala's, as he's had a starting role his entire career. But I don't know. I still just didn't see him as a Hall of Famer. I feel like I don't know. I feel like he always needed, and I guess this argument goes with Andre Iguodala, but I feel like Kevin Love always had someone carrying him. But to the same point, I don't know. In my head, it makes sense. It doesn't make sense as I'm saying it right now. To me, Andre Iguodala, Hall of Famer, not first ballot, but he'll get there. Kevin Love, no. I don't know why. I know he's a starter, but I've never seen Kevin Love as anything more than a role player.
Really? Even in Minnesota?
He's the best player on the team in Minnesota. And
he was getting like 30 and 20 rebounds. Yeah. Like, he was going nuts.
Yeah. The bad part was he was in Minnesota. That's a career.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
understand that's why LeBron traded Wiggins for him. Because he knew Wiggins wasn't going to be ready. K-Love was ready.
Yeah.
Even, like, if you look at him in Cleveland, he was still averaging, like, barely south of 20 points per game.
Yeah.
Like, he was a double-double threat on a nightly basis.
Not as good as Bosh, but that level type of, third option,
So you think he's on the same level as Bosh?
No.
I would say no. I don't think he's the same level as Bosh, but if Bosh is here, I think Kevin Love is somewhere not too far under, but under him.
Yeah.
Well, I just never seen Kevin Love as that. I don't know why.
To Mike's point too, he played a similar role on a different championship team for Braun.
Yeah, same role, spot up 4 in the corner, knock down the 3 when LeBron passed you the ball. I mean, Bosh didn't win nothing in Toronto when he was by himself, but he was putting up numbers. So, I mean, it's kind of comparable. I would say Bosh is overall the better power forward. Of course, I would say Bosh over Love. But I think it's comparable. I think you can compare those two.
Wow. Okay. That shot my argument out the window. I don't know. I've never seen him as a Hall of Famer.
He might not be. But, I mean, I just think the stats he put in Minnesota and then solidified it with a ring, I think that'll get him in down the road, though. Down the road.
In my opinion, I want to see some more individual accolades. That's my thought on Kevin Love.
And he can. I mean, he has lots of career left. If he escapes somehow, if he can escape the death trap that we like to call Cleveland, the career death trap,
he's not wrong, though.
Careers go to die that we call Cleveland, then, I mean, I'd like to see him in a different environment, and I'd like to see him, do better, because he's still young. I think he's just barely 30, so.
31.
Yeah, so.
All right, so we'll move on from that. We'll end the episode as we always do with the mystery player debate. This one is going to be a little different. Usually we do current players, and we just have done this past season. This one's going to be a little bit interesting. So we're going to do all-time stats, and neither of these players are in the league anymore. So it's kind of their career stats. And
let's do it.
I think Ben was talking about the good old days of the basketball we liked and we grew up with. So we got player A, small forward shooting guard, active in the years 2002 to 2015. He played in 34.1 minutes per game, getting 17.1 points, 5 rebounds, 2.7 assists, and 1.2 steals per game. He shot the ball at 43.8% and 37% from deep. Player B, a shooting guard, small forward, power forward. To be fair, he only played power forward for, I believe, 1 or 2 seasons.
Okay.
He was active from 1999 to 2013, played in 28.2 minutes per game with 16 points, 4.9 rebounds, 2.1 assists, and shot the ball 45.3% from the field and 32.4% from deep. Let's debate who you taking and who do you think they are. And as always, feel free to ask me questions, and I will answer them as long as it doesn't give it away.
Can I just say out the gates who I think player B is?
Go for it.
Is it T-Mac?
It is not.
Oh, I thought I was like spot on with that.
T-Mac was 16 points.
Yeah, I agree to say T-Mac got
He declined towards the end of his career.
I was gonna say.
I feel like the career 99 to 2013, I feel like it's perfect. But
one thing I want to say, just to kind of help you here, both of their last seasons, they barely played. Player A played in 19 games, and player B played in 18 games, and those stats definitely brought them down. So that's something to keep an eye on.
I'm taking player A over B for sure.
Why?
I think he's a better all around player. Play more minutes. Now his field goal percentage is down from player B's, but I'll take the points and the rebounds over player B. So.
Okay.
Is one of these players Rep Hamilton?
No. That's a good guess, though. That's a good guess.
I'm also going to take player A just because even though he took way more minutes to do it, he was obviously a lot more of a key player on his team, whereas player B was a bit more of an impact guy doing, similar numbers and way less minutes. The 3-point percentage is a lot better for player A, and 1.2 steals per game tells me he's a pretty solid defender as well. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I was already leaning player A. So I mean, go ahead, Stacey.
Player A, I'm going off Rep Hamilton. Player A, Tayshaun Prince.
No.
Ooh.
And you guys know me, so you guys know what my favorite aspect of the game is, or you should by now. I will say that player A is one of my favorite people to use in 2K.
To use in 2K.
See,
that means
I
feel bad about that. Yeah.
You guys know who my favorite player is, so you can go off of that.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart.
Stacey knows me.
Oh, Vince. Favorite player of all time,
Vince Carter. So.
Oh, he's a dunker?
He can be.
Oh, he's a
He
dunker.
dabbles.
He dabbles. Man.
Was he on the Raptors or the Nets?
He was.
Yeah, give me some teams. Give me some teams.
So I will give you. I don't think any of them played on the same team. So I'll give you one of their teams.
Okay.
All right.
Player A played for the Warriors for a bit. Player B. This wants to load. Also played for the Warriors for a bit, but at a different point in time.
All right. Here's my question. Did player A ever play for the Hornets?
Yes.
Is it Baron Davis?
It is not.
Oh my God.
It's not Matt Barnes, is it?
To be fair though, I don't know if they were the Hornets at that time. I don't know what year did they become
the Bobcats.
Yeah, I don't know the timeline on that.
Matt Barnes, this ain't Matt Barnes. He ain't ever averaged this much.
No.
That's what I was thinking, but
no.
I don't think he left California
up for that. Man.
I don't know. I'm going with player A though. That's my blind pick.
They were both first round picks.
Okay.
Player A was drafted earlier.
What?
Player A was a 5th overall pick. Oh, I just said that, but don't look it up. I just realized that literally gives it away.
Oh,
just don't look it up.
What draft?
Is player A Mike Dunleavy Jr.?
No.
Mike Dunleavy. Man, I remember him actually.
I remember his name.
Yeah.
So a little bit more help. Player A He played for a lot of teams. So he played for Golden State. After Golden State, he went to Charlotte. After Charlotte, he went to Phoenix. After Phoenix, he went to Orlando. And he ended his career in Philly.
Wait, I need you to say all those again. Say all those again.
Okay. Started his career in Golden State.
Okay.
Ended up going to Charlotte. After that, he went to Phoenix, then Orlando, and ended his career in Philly.
Golden State.
Philly 2015.
He was in Golden State for 7 years, 21 to 27, or to 26.
Wait, what? 21 to 26?
His ages.
Oh, okay. So the majority stats got to be from Golden State.
That is not the majority of his career, though, because he played for so long. 6 seasons in Golden State, 3 seasons in Phoenix, 2 seasons in Orlando, 2 seasons in Charlotte.
Wait. 3 seasons in Phoenix. Okay, hold on. I got a player who played for Golden State. Okay, I got to ask you this question. Did he play for Golden State in 2008?
No.
Who was he at with 2008?
Charlotte.
Charlotte. I'm stumped.
I'll give you some hints on player B.
Mm.
None of these guys ever had All-Stars, by the way. None of them were ever an All-Star.
Did either one of them ever won a dunk contest?
I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't say, so I'd have to Google it. Player A was an all-rookie member in 2001, 2002. Player B literally has no individual accolades.
Oh, shit. I'm stumped. I had Jason Richardson in mind, but he wasn't at the time.
Yes, he was.
No.
Yes.
Wait, but you said he wasn't playing. Jason Richardson was on Golden State in 08, so it can't be him.
He was
out.
He was from 2007 to 2008. He was in Charlotte. 2008 to 2009. He was in Charlotte.
Oh, then I'm stumped.
It is Jason Richardson.
Is Jason Richardson?
Yeah.
Is player B Corey Maggette?
Yes.
Okay, I would take Jason Richardson.
Ben got them both last week too. Ben's on a roll.
I don't know. Jason Richardson, I don't, because the teams you said matched up. I remember him in Golden State. I remember him in you said Golden State. You said the Magic. Oh, Phoenix. I remember him with the Magic, and he was trash with Philly. But the years didn't add up because you said so. 08. I guess that wasn't 08 when the Warriors beat the Mavericks in the first round. Remember they were the 8 seed with Baron Davis, Steven Jackson.
Might have been 2007.
Might have been.
His last season with Golden State was the 06-07 season.
There it is.
Yeah,
God,
it was.
I was off by a year.
It is Jay Rich. Love him in 2K. And then, player B was Corey Maggette. How'd you come to that, Ben?
Just based on the teams.
The teams?
Yeah. And I didn't know he was that good, though. 16 points per game. I didn't know he was that much of an impact player.
I feel like he's a forgotten about guy. I feel like he's kind of forgotten about.
I know Golden State and Orlando he was at, so.
Yeah, I feel like both of these guys in the history of the NBA are just kind of forgotten about, don't really get credit.
And you messed me up because Jason Richardson, he definitely won a dunk contest, I thought.
I said I didn't know, to be fair.
Okay, he had one of the most memorable dunk contests.
Yeah, he had a good dunk contest.
Yeah,
what year? Bro, I need to watch this.
I think it was like
2006.
Yeah, I think it was like 06.
He had a nasty between the legs alley.
Yeah, Jason Richardson used to.
I think he might have gone 360 through the legs. I
did say he was good at dunking though, because I said I love using him in 2K.
I used to do the dunk contest with my NBA Live.
05. The one with Melo, or is it 06?
I don't know which one. I forgot, but I know I used to do it.
The 2K dunk contest sucks. Have you guys done that?
No, I don't do it anymore.
It's terrible.
Yeah, he won the dunk contest in 03. Okay, I got it.
I like that slam cover in the back there, Jordan.
Thank you. We got NBA Live 02.
02.
It's great though because they sent me the wrong one, and I actually got NBA Live 03.
There it is. That's the one with JP. That's the one.
Yeah. Man. I miss the good old days in the NBA. I want it back. I don't know why, but I feel like the early 2000s NBA was like so much fun.
It was crazy. It was a different time, man. Different time.
Yeah.
Wild. All right, but that's going to do it for, episode 37? 37. 10 off. We'll get it next time. Episode 37 of the Crown Hoops Podcast. Thank you guys for watching, listening, whatever you're doing. As always, my name is Jordan Daly. With me this week, I had Mike White, Stacey Collier, and Ben Okazawa. And we will see you guys next week, next time, whenever we decide to do it again. Peace.